My slutty sister fucked every guy I dated in high school until I started dating her current boyfriend's brother. My name's Emma, and before I can explain what went down last month, you need to understand my sister, Claire. What happened recently won't make any real sense unless you know what she put me through back in high school. Claire is 2 years younger than I am, and growing up, people always made sure to point out the differences between us. She was the pretty one, the fun one, the girl everyone wanted around. I was the responsible one, the serious one, the kid who studied too hard and cared way too much about what people thought. And Claire knew exactly how to play that dynamic to her advantage. The first time she crossed that line I was 15. His name was Ryan Simmons and he was my very first real boyfriend. We'd been together about 3 months when I started noticing Claire inserting herself into our lives. She showed up at his basketball games, asked if she could come along when we went to the movies, little things like that. I honestly thought she was just being a younger sister who looked up to me. I couldn't have been more wrong. I found out the truth from Ryan's best friend, Ryan. One afternoon after school, he pulled me aside and asked if I actually knew what was going on. When I told him I had no idea what he meant, he got uncomfortable and said I should probably talk to Ryan. Ryan confessed later that same day. Claire had been texting him, sending him pictures, telling him I was planning to dump him anyway. She said I talked badly about him behind his back, and claimed she understood him better than I ever could. He broke up with me that afternoon. That night I confronted Claire. She was sitting on her bed, calmly painting her nails this bright red color, and she barely even looked at me when I walked in. I asked her why she'd do that to me, why she'd go after my boyfriend. She just shrugged. Literally shrugged. She said he hadn't been that into me anyway, and that she'd done me a favor. I told our parents, but Claire cried and played innocent. She said she had no idea what I was talking about, claimed Ryan had come on to her and that she'd turned him down. Then she said I was just jealous because he'd chosen her over me. She was 14. I was 15. And our parents believed her. 6 months later, it happened again with Lucas Martin. Same routine, same pattern. Claire started hanging around, started texting him, started feeding him lies about me. Lucas lasted 3 weeks before dumping me for her. After that came Nathan, then Adam, then Evan. By the time I was a senior, I'd learned to keep my relationships as far away from Claire as possible. But it didn't matter. She always found a way in. She'd add them on social media, show up at parties I'd mentioned, or corner them when I wasn't around. The thing about Claire was that she never actually wanted these guys. She'd date them for a few weeks, maybe a month at most, and then get bored and move on. It was never about them. It was about winning. About proving she could take whatever I had. I moved away for college the second I graduated. I went to Eastwood, putting as much physical distance between Claire and me as I could. She stayed in California and went to UCLA. For 4 years I barely saw her, just during holidays. Honestly, those years were the happiest I've been in a long time. Then last year I moved back home. I'm 26 now, and I got a job offer at a tech company in San Francisco. Financially, it made sense to live with my parents for a few months while I saved up for my own place. Claire had moved back too after graduating. She was working as a social media manager for some startup. That's when I met Sophie and her brothers. Sophie was in my yoga class, and one day after class we grabbed coffee. We clicked instantly. She was funny, genuine, and one of those people who made you feel like you'd known her forever, after just one conversation. We started hanging out regularly, and she kept mentioning her brothers, Jason and Ben. Jason was the older one, 28, worked in finance. He was also Claire's boyfriend. They'd been dating for 6 months, and Claire never stopped talking about him. According to her, he was perfect. He made great money, drove a nice car, took her to fancy restaurants, and was already talking about proposing. I'd met him twice at family dinners. He seemed fine, maybe a little full of himself, but Claire actually seemed happy, which was new. She'd never dated anyone seriously before. Ben was the younger brother, 25, the same age as Claire. He was a carpenter who built custom furniture. Sophie showed me pictures of his work, and it was honestly incredible, these detailed dining tables and bookshelves that looked like actual art. One day she smiled at me and said, "He's single," giving me this look that told me exactly what she was thinking. She said she thought the two of us would really hit it off. I laughed it off. I wasn't looking to date anyone, especially not my sister's boyfriend's brother. That just felt like asking for trouble. But then I met him. Sophie invited me to her parents' house for a barbecue one Saturday in June, one of those perfect California days. Claire was supposed to be there with Jason, but she texted me that morning saying they couldn't make it because of some work thing. I almost canceled, but Sophie had been so excited about me coming that I decided to go anyway. Ben was in the backyard when I arrived, standing by the grill with Sophie's dad. He was tall, with dark hair and these intense green eyes. He wore a faded t-shirt and jeans splattered with paint. When he smiled at me, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. We talked for 3 straight hours about everything. Music, books, travel, and what we wanted out of life. He made me laugh so hard that I actually snorted, which completely mortified me. But he just grinned and said it was cute. He was nothing like the guys I usually dated. Not polished, not overly ambitious, not trying to impress anyone. He was grounded, creative, and comfortable just being himself. By the end of the night, he asked for my number, and I gave it to him. I didn't tell Claire. I didn't tell anyone except Sophie, who was thrilled. Ben and I started texting constantly, and the following weekend we went on our first date at this tiny Italian restaurant in North Beach. He told me about dropping out of business school and how he'd started building furniture instead. His parents hadn't been thrilled, but he said he'd never been happier. Life's too short to do something you hate just because it looks good on paper, he told me. After that, we started seeing each other regularly. 2 weeks turned into a month. A month turned into 2. And we kept it quiet, just between us and Sophie. I kept telling myself the reason I hadn't said anything was because everything was still new. I told myself I wanted to be sure it was real before dragging my family into it. But if I'm being honest, I was scared. Terrified, actually. I was afraid of Claire finding out. In August, Sophie's parents threw a huge party for their 30th wedding anniversary, and the entire family was invited. There was no way around it. Claire and Jason were going to be there, and by then Ben and I had been together for almost 3 months. Hiding wasn't an option anymore. "It'll be fine," Ben said the night before the party. We were stretched out on his couch at his apartment. "Claire's happy with Jason. She's not going to care." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But I knew Claire. And I knew how she worked. The party was at a venue in Napa. One of those beautiful places where vineyards roll out in every direction. I wore a blue dress I'd bought just for the occasion. When Ben picked me up and saw me, he kissed me and told me I looked incredible. For the first time in a long while, I actually felt confident. Like maybe things were different now. We were adults. Claire had her own relationship. Maybe she wouldn't care about mine. Claire and Jason showed up about 30 minutes after we did. I saw her eyes land on Ben and me from across the room. We were holding hands. Her face stayed calm, but something shifted in her eyes. Recognition first, then calculation. 5 minutes later, she was walking over. "Emma," she said, kissing my cheek like we were best friends. "I didn't know you'd be here. And Ben, I had no idea you two knew each other." "We've been dating for a few months," Ben said, squeezing my hand. "Emma's amazing." Claire smiled, that pageant smile of hers that never reached her eyes. "That's wonderful," she said. "We should all go to dinner sometime. You know, since we're practically family now." My stomach twisted. The rest of the party went smoothly on the surface. Claire played the role of the perfect sister and the perfect girlfriend. She stayed glued to Jason, laughing and whispering in his ear. She barely acknowledged Ben at all, but I knew better. I could feel it. Something was coming. Started small like it always did. Claire began texting Ben. At first it was harmless stuff. Asking about furniture ideas for her and Jason's place, sending photos of designs she liked, asking for his opinion. Ben showed me the messages, completely unaware of what was really happening. "Should I just not respond?" he asked. "No," I told him. "That'll only make it worse. Just keep your replies short." Claire was patient. She always was. Soon she started showing up at his workshop. She said she wanted to see his work in person, brought him coffee, asked if he could build a custom coffee table for her and Jason as an anniversary gift. Ben thought she was just being kind, trying to build a relationship with her sister's boyfriend. "She's actually pretty cool once you get to know her," he said one day. I wanted to scream. Then one night in September, Sophie called me. She sounded tense. "I need to talk to you about something," she said. "It's about Claire." My stomach dropped. Sophie told me she'd been out with friends and they'd run into Claire at a bar in the marina. Jason wasn't there. Claire was dancing with some guy, really dancing. When she spotted Sophie, she just waved and kept going. "I don't know if I should tell Jason," Sophie said. "Maybe it was nothing. Maybe they were just dancing." "Did it look like just dancing?" I asked. There was a long pause. "No," Sophie finally admitted. "It didn't. I told her to stay out of it. I said it wasn't our place." But inside I was furious. Not because Claire might be cheating on Jason, but because I knew exactly what this meant. She was getting bored. And when Claire got bored, she started looking for something new. Or someone new. The following week, Ben and I went to his parents' house for dinner. It was supposed to be just us, his parents and Sophie. But when we walked in, Claire and Jason were already sitting in the living room. "Surprise," Claire said brightly. Jason's mom invited us. Isn't that sweet? I looked at Sophie. She looked just as shocked as I felt. Dinner was miserable. Claire sat across from Ben, asking him about his projects, laughing a little too hard at his jokes. She kept one hand on Jason's arm, playing the devoted girlfriend, but her eyes never left Ben. Not once. After dinner I went to the bathroom. When I came back I heard voices in the kitchen. Claire and Ben. I stopped in the hallway without thinking. I just think it's so great that Emma found someone like you, Claire was saying. Her voice was soft, almost intimate. She's had such bad luck with guys. They always end up leaving her. But you seem different. Emma's incredible, Ben said. I'm the lucky one. You're sweet, Claire replied. Too sweet. I just hope she appreciates you. She tends to get so wrapped up in work that she forgets about the people around her. Our parents always said she was too focused on herself. I just worry about you. I'd hate to see you get hurt. I walked into the kitchen before Ben could say anything. Claire turned and smiled at me. There you are. I was just telling Ben how happy I am for you. I didn't respond. I just took Ben's hand and led him back into the living room. On the drive home Ben was quiet. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, he said, but his voice didn't sound convincing. Claire was just saying some things about you. About how you get really focused on work. What else did she say? He hesitated. It's nothing. Just forget it. But I couldn't forget it. I knew Claire had planted a seed. A small doubt. And she would water it until it grew. Over the next few weeks she didn't let up. Claire commented on every single one of Ben's Instagram posts. Liked every photo. Sent him memes she thought he'd find funny. She invited us out constantly. Double dates, drinks, parties, always with Jason in tow. Always acting like the perfect couple. But I saw the look she gave Ben. The excuses to touch his arm, to stand just a little too close. The way she brought up inside jokes that made Jason seem dull by comparison, like he didn't quite fit. Ben still didn't see it. Or maybe he didn't want to. She's just being friendly, he said when I tried to talk to him about it. She's your sister. She's trying to get to know me. That's what she does, I said. She acts friendly until she has you exactly where she wants you. Ben looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Disappointment flashed across his face. Maybe that's a pretty cynical way to look at your own sister, he said. That turned into a fight. Our first real fight. I tried to explain Claire's past, everything she'd done before, but Ben didn't want to hear it. He said I was being paranoid, jealous, like I couldn't stand the idea of Claire paying attention to my boyfriend. After that I stopped bringing it up. But I watched. I watched Claire do what she always did, the same routine she perfected years ago. Slowly, carefully, she drove a wedge between Ben and me while pretending to be the sweet, innocent sister who just wanted everyone to get along. In October Jason proposed. He went all out, fancy restaurant, down on one knee, the whole production. Claire posted about it on Instagram immediately. The ring was massive. Her caption talked about finding her soulmate. About how Jason was the love of her life. I knew it wasn't true. Claire didn't love Jason. She probably didn't even like him all that much. But he was successful, stable, and ready to marry her, so she said yes. The day after the engagement, Sophie asked me to get lunch. She looked nervous. I need to tell you something, she said. And I need you to promise not to freak out. My heart started pounding. Ben came to me last week, Sophie said carefully. He was confused about some things Claire had said about you. What did she say? I asked. Sophie bit her lip. She told him you have this pattern of dating guys who are safe and boring because you're afraid of real intimacy. That you're still hung up on some ex from college and that you're using Ben to get over it. She said she was worried he was going to get his heart broken. It felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. She told him all that? Not all at once, Sophie said. Just little comments over time. But Ben started putting it together and got worried. He asked me if any of it was true. What did you tell him? I told him Claire was full of crap, Sophie said without hesitation. I told him she has a history of going after your boyfriends. I told him everything you told me about high school. And what did he say? Sophie looked uncomfortable. He didn't fully believe me. He said it sounded far-fetched. That people change. That Claire seems genuinely happy with Jason. That night I drove straight to Ben's apartment. He was in his workshop sanding down a table. When he looked up I saw it immediately, the doubt in his eyes. Claire had done exactly what she meant to do. We need to talk, I said. We talked for 2 hours. I told him everything. Every boyfriend Claire had taken from me. Every lie she told. Every time she chose winning over me. I showed him old Facebook messages, texts from friends from back then. I didn't hold anything back. Ben listened, but I could tell he still wasn't convinced. Why would she do all of that and then end up engaged to my brother? He asked. If she wants me, why get engaged to Jason? Because that's what makes it exciting for her, I said. The risk. The challenge. She doesn't actually want you, Ben. She just doesn't want me to have you. He sat there quietly for a long time. Finally he said, I need to think about this. I left feeling worse than I had in years. I could feel him slipping away. I could feel Claire winning again. The following week was hell. Ben barely texted me, and when he did, his replies were short and distant. He canceled 2 dates saying work had piled up. I knew exactly what was happening. Claire had gotten inside his head and now he was pulling back. Sophie tried to help. She talked to Ben, tried to convince him that Claire was manipulating him, but Ben didn't want to believe someone could be that calculated. That cruel. Then came Jason's birthday party. November 15th. His parents threw a big celebration at their house. I almost didn't go. Ben had barely spoken to me in a week, and I felt like things between us were already over. But Sophie begged me to come. Please, she said. I have a feeling something's going to happen tonight, and I need you there. So I went. I wore jeans and a sweater and didn't bother trying to look nice. What was the point? Claire had already won. Again. Ben was in the backyard when I arrived, standing with Jason and a few other guys, beer in hand. He saw me and gave a small wave but didn't come over. Inside, Claire was holding court in the kitchen. She looked flawless like always. Her engagement ring caught the light every time she moved her hand. She laughed with Jason's mom about wedding plans like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment. I stayed for about an hour, drank 2 glasses of wine way too fast, and seriously considered leaving early. Then Sophie grabbed my arm. Come with me, she whispered sharply. She pulled me upstairs to the 2nd floor where the bedrooms were. We stopped outside one of the guest rooms. The door was slightly open. Inside I heard voices. Claire's voice and a man's. Not Jason's. I looked at Sophie. She pressed a finger to her lips and pushed the door open a little more. Claire was sitting on the bed. Ben stood near the window. They were alone. You're so talented, Claire was saying. Jason only ever talks about work. Numbers, deals, boring business stuff. But what you do is real. It's art. Thanks, Ben said, sounding uncomfortable. Claire stood and moved closer to him. I need to tell you something, she said softly. And you have to promise not to tell anyone. Ben didn't answer. I think I made a mistake, Claire continued. Saying yes to Jason. He's wonderful, but he's not you. My heart stopped. Claire, Ben started. Just listen, she interrupted. I know this is complicated. I know you're with Emma. But I can't stop thinking about you. About what we could be together. You feel it too, don't you? This connection. She reached out and put her hand on his chest. Ben stepped back. No, he said firmly. I don't feel it. And you need to leave me alone. For a split second, anger flashed across Claire's face. Then it vanished, replaced by hurt. I just thought, she said, her voice breaking. Emma told me you were having doubts about her. I thought maybe you felt the same way I do. Emma never said that, Ben said sharply. And I don't have doubts. I love her. You need to stop whatever game you're playing. That's when Sophie pushed the door all the way open, and we walked in together. Claire spun around, and the color drained from her face. How long have you been standing there? Claire asked. Long enough, I said. Ben looked from me to Sophie, then back to Claire. I could see it click for him, the realization settling in. This is what Emma was trying to tell me about, he said slowly. The pattern. This is what you do. Claire's jaw tightened. I don't know what you're talking about. Emma's always been jealous of me. She can't stand that I'm happy and that I found someone. Save it, Sophie cut in. I heard everything. You just told Ben you made a mistake getting engaged to my brother. You touched him. You tried to kiss him. I did not, Claire snapped. Yeah, you did, Ben said. His voice was cold now. And you've been messing with my head for months. Planting doubts about Emma. Making me question everything. She warned me and I didn't listen. That's when Claire's perfect mask finally cracked. Oh please, she scoffed. Emma isn't some innocent victim. She's boring and uptight, and that's the truth. Enough. Jason's voice came from the doorway. We all turned. He was standing there, his face tight, and from the look of it, he'd heard everything. Jason, Claire said quickly, her voice shrinking. Baby, this isn't what it looks like. Really? Jason said. Because it looks like you just told my brother you made a mistake getting engaged to me. It looks like you tried to kiss him. So go ahead. Explain what it's supposed to look like. Claire's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, I think. I was confused, she said. I've been stressed about the wedding. I wasn't thinking clearly. Take off the ring, Jason said. The room went silent. Take it off, he repeated. We're done. Claire looked around the room searching for anyone to back her up. But there was no one left on her side. She'd finally gone too far. She yanked the ring off her finger and threw it at Jason. It hit his chest and clattered to the floor. Fine, she spat. I didn't even want to marry you. You're boring and predictable, and you'd probably cheat on me within a year like every other finance bro in this city. Get out, Jason said, surprisingly calm. Claire stormed past him, past all of us. I heard her heels pounding down the stairs, then the front door slamming shut. After that, there was nothing but silence. Jason bent down and picked up the ring. He stared at it for a long moment, then looked at Ben. I'm sorry, he said. I should have seen it sooner. My mom kept saying Claire was perfect, and I wanted to believe it. But there were signs. Times she disappeared. Lies that didn't quite add up. He paused. She showed up at my office last week. Said she wanted to talk about wedding plans. Then she started asking about you. About your relationship with Emma. I should have known what she was doing. It's not your fault, Ben said. Jason turned to me. I'm sorry, Emma, for everything she did to you. Growing up with her must have been hell. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. Jason left the room and Sophie followed him, giving Ben and me some space. Ben crossed the room and wrapped his arms around me. I'm so sorry, he said into my hair. You tried to tell me. You warned me and I didn't listen. I thought you were being paranoid or jealous. I was wrong. You're not an idiot, I said. Claire's just really good at what she does. She's had years of practice. I love you, Ben said. I should have said it sooner. I love you and I'm not going anywhere. That's when I broke down. Not sad tears. Relief tears. Because for the first time in my life, Claire hadn't won. She tried her usual tricks, but this time they didn't work. Ben chose me. When we went back downstairs, the party was still going, but the mood had shifted. Word had clearly spread. People whispered. Jason's mom was crying. His dad looked furious. Sophie walked up to us and lowered her voice. I recorded it, she said, holding up her phone. What? I asked. The conversation in the bedroom, she said. I started recording while we were outside the door. I got all of it. Claire saying she made a mistake. Her coming on to Ben. Everything. I stared at her. Why? Sophie shrugged. I've seen what Claire does online. How she controls the story. I knew she'd try to twist this. Make herself the victim. I wanted proof. She was right. The next day, Claire posted a long Instagram caption about how she'd called off her engagement because she'd realized Jason wasn't the right person for her. She wrote about focusing on herself, about growth, about being grateful for the support of friends and family during such a hard time. She didn't mention what actually happened. She didn't mention Ben. The comments poured in. People calling her brave. Saying they admired her strength. Calling her an inspiration. It made me sick. Then Sophie posted the recording. She didn't tag Claire. She didn't add commentary. She just posted the audio with one word as the caption, truth. It went viral almost immediately. Within hours, thousands of people had heard Claire admit she'd made a mistake getting engaged. They heard her hit on Ben. They heard him reject her. They heard her mask slip when she got caught. Claire's phone blew up. People from high school started commenting, sharing their own stories. Girls whose boyfriends she'd gone after. Friends she'd betrayed. Pattern that stretched back years. Claire tried to fight back. She claimed the audio was taken out of context. Said I'd manipulated Sophie into posting it. Said she was the real victim. But no one believed her. For the first time in her life, people saw through Claire. 2 days later, she deleted her Instagram. Then her Facebook. Then everything. That week my parents called me. They wanted my side of the story. So I told them everything about high school, about all the boyfriends Claire stole, about how I tried to tell them and they hadn't believed me. My mom cried. My dad kept apologizing. They said they'd failed me. That they'd been so focused on keeping the peace that they ignored the truth. Claire moved out of my parents' house not long after. She got an apartment with someone from work. My parents tried reaching out, but she didn't respond. No calls. No texts. She built her whole identity around being the perfect daughter. The pretty one. The popular one. And now everyone knew the truth. I should have felt vindicated. Maybe even triumphant. But more than anything else, I just felt sad. Claire is my sister, and no matter how much damage she caused, a part of me always hoped she'd change. I kept waiting for the day she'd wake up and realize that constantly competing with me wasn't making either of us happy. That day never came. Ben and I are still together. It's been almost 4 months since Jason's birthday party, and we moved in together last month. We found a small apartment in Bernal Heights with exposed brick and huge windows that flood the place with light. Ben set up a little workshop in the garage, and he's been building me a custom bookshelf with these detailed carvings along the edges. Every time I look at it, it reminds me how much care he puts into everything he does. Sophie and I are still close. She apologized 100 times for not believing me sooner about Claire, but I don't blame her. Claire was really good at hiding who she was. Jason's doing okay too. He dated someone for a bit, but it didn't last. The last I heard, he was taking a break from dating and focusing on himself. I still see him sometimes at Sophie's parents' house, and we're friendly. There's this unspoken understanding between us. We both fell for Claire's act. My relationship with my parents is better than it's been in years. They've been making a real effort, actually trying to understand what I went through growing up with Claire. My mom especially keeps saying she wishes she'd listened to me back in high school. She admits now that she was so focused on keeping Claire happy that she ignored how much I was hurting. But there's one part of Claire's story I haven't told you yet. The part that still keeps me up at night sometimes. A few weeks ago, a package showed up in the mail with no return address. Inside was a notebook. Claire's handwriting was scrawled across the cover. High school diary. I almost threw it away without opening it, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside were entries from when we were teenagers. Page after page she'd written about every boyfriend of mine she'd gone after, Ryan, Connor, Nathan, Adam, Evan. All of them. She detailed her strategies, how she researched their interests, the lies she told them about me, how long it took each one to leave me. But what shook me most wasn't the tactics. It was the reason written on the very first page in her teenage handwriting. She wrote that I'd always been mom and dad's favorite, that I was smarter, more responsible, better at everything, that even if they never said it out loud she could feel it. And the one thing she believed she had that I didn't was that guys wanted her more. So every time I got a boyfriend she decided she'd take him just to prove she could, just to prove she was better at something. After each successful takedown there were ratings, notes about how satisfied she felt, observations about my reactions, how crushed I looked, how much she enjoyed watching me hurt. The last entry was from senior year. She wrote that after Evan I barely spoke to her anymore, that I flinched when she came near me. She admitted she thought she'd broken something between us, but she didn't know how to stop. She wrote that being the pretty one, the fun one, was all she had. And since I had everything else she had to keep winning, even if it meant losing me. I read that notebook 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and haven't opened it since. I don't know why Claire sent it to me. Maybe it was her way of apologizing. Maybe it was an explanation. Or maybe it was one last attempt to make me understand her, to feel sorry for her. What I do know is this. Claire didn't just hurt me. She hurt herself. She spent so many years competing with me that she never figured out who she really was. She built her entire identity around tearing me down. And when that stopped working, when people finally saw through her, she was left with nothing. The last update I got from my parents was that Claire moved to Portland. She's working for some tech startup up there. They say she seems calmer, more grounded. But they also told me she hasn't mentioned me once. Hasn't asked about me or Ben or our lives. And honestly, that's okay. I don't need Claire's approval. I don't need her to apologize or explain herself. I spent too many years waiting for her to change, hoping she'd become the sister I wanted her to be. Now I have Ben. I have Sophie. I have a life Claire can't touch. And that's enough. Ben proposed 2 weeks ago. We were standing on Ocean Beach watching the sunset. He'd made this small wooden box with my name carved into the lid. Inside was a simple gold ring with a tiny diamond. "I'm not Jason," he said, dropping to one knee. "I can't afford some huge ring or a fancy proposal. But I can promise you this. I'll never let anyone come between us again. I'll believe you when you tell me something's wrong. I'll fight for us. Always." I said yes before he even finished. We're getting married next spring. A small ceremony with just close friends and family. My parents will be there. Claire won't be. Not out of spite or revenge, but because some bridges once burned shouldn't be rebuilt. The other day I was flipping through old photos and found one from when Claire and I were kids, maybe 6 and 8 years old. We were in the backyard splashing around in an inflatable pool. Claire was smiling at the camera and I was smiling at her. We looked happy. We looked like sisters. I showed it to Ben. "Do you miss her?" he asked. "I miss who I thought she was," I said. "Or who I hoped she could be." But the Claire in that photo doesn't exist. Maybe she never did. Ben kissed my forehead and told me he loved me. That's the truth about Claire's story. There's no neat ending. No big realization. No tearful reunion. No redemption arc. Real life doesn't work that way. Sometimes people hurt you. Sometimes they keep hurting you until you finally walk away. And sometimes walking away is the only way you survive. Claire made her choices. She chose competition over connection. She chose winning over having a sister. And now she has to live with that. As for me, I choose Ben. I choose happiness. I choose a life where I don't have to look over my shoulder, waiting for someone to take what's mine. Because the truth is, nothing was ever mine to steal. Claire couldn't take what I had. She could only destroy it. And I'm done letting her destroy anything else. Last week, my mom asked if I'd consider reaching out to Claire. She said maybe enough time had passed. She said maybe we could all heal together as a family. I told her no. Not because I hate Claire. Not because I want revenge or to hurt her the way she hurt me. I said no because I finally learned something Claire never did. Some relationships aren't meant to be saved. Some people don't actually want to change. And spending your life waiting for someone to become who you need them to be is just another way of losing yourself. So I'm done waiting. I'm not holding out hope that Claire will change. I'm not expecting an apology or some sudden moment of clarity where she finally understands the damage she caused. I'm just living my life now. I'm building a bookshelf with Ben. I'm planning a wedding. I'm laughing with Sophie over wine and takeout. I'm calling my parents every Sunday. I'm putting my energy into creating something real and solid in my own life. And if Claire ever does change, if she ever becomes someone who can have healthy, honest relationships, I'll be genuinely happy for her. From a distance. But my door is closed. And it's staying closed. Because I finally figured out what Claire never could. Winning isn't everything. Sometimes the real victory is knowing when to stop playing the game.